time because I'd showered and my breasts hadn't been pumped in years. Inevitably, one of them would comment about how nice it must be for me to go to work every day. I'd force a polite smile in return. Our monthly Mom's Night Out dinners were different from the stay-at-home moms club events. 3 years ago, Robin created a meetup group for mothers to get together for dinner to talk about things other than their kids. She included me on the list without asking because she knew I'd never have signed up if she hadn't. I'd been surprised to discover I liked our dinners. I wasn't the only one who worked, so I didn't feel like such a freak. They also gave me a chance to see Robin, and we got to spend the rest of the week gossiping about what everyone else had said or done at dinner. Well, I don't hate Jeff, Kristen's soft voice broke in. He's a really great dad. Ugh, of course he's a great dad, but is he a great husband? Doubtful. Jen tipped back her glass. She'd skipped the wine and gone straight to bourbon. They don't have a clue. They don't know how to think about anyone else but themselves. There's like this total inability to put themselves in somebody else's shoes. I mean, I get Mitch doesn't care what I think or how I feel, but what about how the kids feel? He can't ever see how his actions affect the kids. Like maybe they'd like to see their dad for more than 5 minutes on a Sunday afternoon once he's finished golfing. I think Jeff does. He's really sensitive. I looked at Robin, and we shared a knowing look, one that only 20 years of friendship brings. I knew what she was thinking because I was thinking the same thing. Jeff was gay. We all knew it, and to some extent Kristen knew it too, although she'd rather die than acknowledge it given her religious beliefs. They were the only 2 Christians in Los Angeles I'd ever met. You had to be very brave to be open about being a Christian in Los Angeles. People from Los Angeles were the most open-minded and liberal individuals in the country, unless you were a Republican or a Christian. Admitting either was close to admitting you agreed with Hitler's ideas, but Kristen didn't hide her beliefs from anyone. She'd asked each of us at least twice if we wanted to attend a Bible study at her home. We'd all politely declined. Sensitive? Mitch wouldn't even know what that meant. Jen snapped her finger at the server, pointing to her glass, and he quickly responded by heading back up to the bar to get her another drink. Robin and I exchanged another look. It was easy to understand Jen's anger because her husband Mitch was rarely around, and when he was, he didn't contribute to the household. All he did was sit on the couch watching TV or lock himself in his home office for hours. Jen swore he'd never loaded the dishwasher. He was a successful financial broker at a large firm, so he worked constantly, but Jen lived in a huge house at the base of the Hollywood Hills where she had a full-time nanny and a housekeeper, so it was hard to feel too sorry for her. Robin turned to Larissa, who'd barely spoken since we sat down. She'd been staring into the faces of the people around us, but seemed to be looking right through them. What about you? How are things with you and Adam? Larissa blinked and looked up as if it just registered she was at dinner with a lively conversation going on around her. We're officially having an affair. What? No way. How'd that happen? What changed your mind? The questions flew out of my mouth before I could stop them. When she started talking to her ex-boyfriend Adam, she'd sworn she wasn't going to have an affair with him. It wasn't like any of us sitting at the table could claim marital purity. Everyone had thought about cheating on their husbands, even Kristen, although she was more likely to admit Jeff was gay than her impure thoughts. And at times, we'd all crossed lines we never thought we'd cross, but the lines they'd crossed were ones that would result in their spouse's feelings getting hurt. None of them had crossed over into divorce-worthy territory, and we all knew an affair qualified. I couldn't say the same for myself, but they didn't know that, not even Robin, and I told her everything. As far as they knew, I was one of them, and Larissa was the first one of us to go there. Larissa turned bright red. We're going to meet in Chicago in 3 weeks. I told Todd I had a conference for work, which I do, except I'm only presenting on Friday, so I have the rest of the weekend free. Adam agreed to meet me there. He told his wife there's an education summit for the new curriculum agenda he's working on. And she believes him? Jen asked. Why would she think he'd have to leave the country to have a meeting? Does he usually have to go to the States for what he does? I think he has before. We all stared at her, silently begging her to give us the details, but at the same time knowing we were asking her to admit things she probably hadn't even admitted to herself. I wanted to tell her I understood what she was going through and warn her that she had no idea what was going to happen once she stepped over the line, no matter how thought out or prepared her step might be.